Hello everyone, yesterday a new state of play was dropped revealing new features, gameplay and story moments from Final Fantasy XVI, so let's get on with it.
Lockhart QT.
Firstly, we get new info on the game's story. We'll be playing as Clive Roswield in a realm of Valsifia, where entire nations, countries are fighting over the crystals which are essentially currency and energy source. The game will follow Clive, who is a representative of the Duchess of Rosaria. Clive is also one of the few people in the realm who can wield the power of an Eikon, which are essentially giant mythical beings that are previously existed as summons in previous games, so think of Leviathan, Shiva, Odin, etc. Final Fantasy XVI will explore his life in 3 distinct phases: his teens, 20s and 30s, as the game starts off in his adulthood and then flashing back in time at the castle in his teens. I saw this in previous trailers where it looked like we'd essentially be doing this, so it's nice that they've officially confirmed this and shown it off in gameplay. We also got a look at Cid's Hideaway, which will act as a central hub and base for you to hang out with companions, take side quests, visit various shops to purchase new gear, crafting and upgrade for items. Here, Clive can also access a hunt board, in which you essentially can hunt for more rare and powerful enemies, similar to Final Fantasy XV. There's also a really in-depth training room where you can pick which enemy you want to face, what attacks they use, the speed, the height, and loads of other custom features. Think back to sort of like Tekken, Smash Bros, Street Fighter, their training modes where you can essentially have enemies attack you and make loads of custom features to your liking. There's also an arcade mode for doing missions and setting high scores, as well as a lore master who will gradually let you unlock reading materials on a comprehensive lore of the world as you progress through the game's story. Basically a grimoire or codex, similar to Mass Effect for example. And then there's Vivian Ninetales, who can update you on the relationships, politics, military history and the entire realm, complete with visual aids, family trees, relationship trees and war tables, similar to games such as Xenoblade Chronicles. Personally, I love it when games do bases and hub worlds, as it sort of has creates a place for you to really hang out in the world, and it's just really cool in my opinion. Next up is combat. I thought initially that Final Fantasy XVI would be like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Kingdom Hearts by essentially mixing hack and slash action combat with a classic RPG command deck for spells, summons, etc. But I was wrong. Final Fantasy XVI is a pure semi-open world hack and slash action game where you essentially rack up insane combos similar to sort of like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but obviously set during a more RPG semi-open world setting. You obviously have access to potions, and Clive can attack using his sword, use magic projectiles such as Fira and other spells that obviously you can use in Final Fantasy games, dodging and blocking attacks. Clive can also use the power of the Dominance to unleash 3 equipable abilities that are tied to each icon. These can be accessed in the bottom right corner and belonged on a timed cooldown timer. Clive can also attack using non-playable allies who can use these similar abilities to assist you in combat. Sadly, you can't play as any of the allies, which is a bit of a bummer. I really do like RPGs and Final Fantasy games where you can actually switch between your companions, but again, we'll have to see how it plays out. So far, the new State of Play trailer, we've seen Jill, who is an old friend from Clive's youth, the Final Fantasy series staple of the character known as Cid, who will act as Clive's mentor, and Jonathan, who seems a big character in the story, and we can easily temporarily play as him in one of Clive's flashbacks, where obviously he's the kid that you see in the trailer who essentially transforms into Phoenix. So again, we'll have to wait and see more on that and essentially wait for the game to come out. We can also see other members of the army and friends that you meet along Clive's flashbacks and also in his 20s and 30s, but the most interesting to me is Torgal, who is essentially Clive's canine companion. He'll constantly be at your side and can act independently. He can also be ordered to attack and heal Clive as well. You can also feed him treats and pet him, which is awesome. I love it when games have essentially dogs and wolves and canines and you can pet them, and the same goes for cats and other creatures really. I just love that. that's a really cool and silly feature, and they didn't need to add it, but they did. In Final Fantasy 16 so far, we've seen loads of series staple enemies, but this game actually focuses loads on the past summons, or as they're known as now, as the Dominants and the Eikons. These massive Eikon battles take place in the story and the world of Final Fantasy 16, where the big cinematic duels between kaiju-sized Eikons take place. At certain points in the game, Clive himself will turn into one of the Eikons, being Ifrit, Phoenix, etc., to face down others in a world-shattering combat scenario. Square Enix have also stated that these massive boss battles will essentially be all completely unique and based on your playthrough specifically, and can be fought in a number of different unique scenarios. For example, any Eikon can be used to take another down, which is really interesting in my opinion. Say for example, if you've unlocked a few and then you fight, I don't know, Bahamut late in the game, the actual fight will change depending on which one you actually select to play as. For example, some fights can straight up be duels where it's essentially a one-on-one wrestling match, but in the State of Play trailer, the thing that really caught my eye is that we saw footage of a fight between Phoenix and Bahamut, which was shown and basically acted out like a 3D shoot-em-up bullet hell game, where you're essentially firing projectiles and shooting, which is really cool, and I'm guessing that if you chose another Eikon here, it would be completely different. Others involve Ifrit ploughing through the environment and punching rocks and mountains and just devastating the landscape, and I'm sure we'll have more that we haven't seen yet. Lastly, games nowadays are incorporating more and more unique features to make the game appeal to all sorts of players, whether you have a disability, a different background, or whatever it may be. Final Fantasy 16 does this by using two different modes, being a story focus mode, which will basically instantly equip items that can help newer players that haven't really played a real-time action game before. For example, if you're struggling, you can essentially equip items that make it easier to dodge and much more. Some other accessibility options were shown in things like on-screen waveforms to provide a visual representation of sound and what's going on in the game, and music for hard of hearing, as well as subtitles, etc, etc. Anyway guys, did you watch the State of Play trailer? It was 25 minutes long and has loads of information in it, probably stuff that I've missed here. But what do you guys think of Final Fantasy 16 so far? Personally, I think it looks great, and I'm definitely going to be picking it up when it comes out in June. And tell me in the comments below, do you want to see more Final Fantasy 16 content on the channel? Because I'd certainly like to make more. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.